E3 Podcast, Episode 2. And today's featured guest is one of my long friends from 6 years ago. He's back in town for a week from Colorado. It's the one and only Simon Torosian. Simon, welcome to the show.
Hey, and it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
So, what brings you back in town? I know you moved to Colorado. We'll get into that later, but you're back for a week. You're with your brother. What's going on?
I mean, I've lived here for 14 years, so I had to come back. I've got so many friends here. Everyone's like my second family. And my brother and I just did a whole day of driving up. We drove through Colorado, Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois, and just got here. And it's been a great trip so far. I got to play a lot of hockey.
And how long was that drive?
Oh, gosh, that had to have been a 17-hour drive, and I did almost all of it because my brother's lazy.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. So this is obviously a sports podcast, and you were big into hockey. So what's your hockey history? What teams have you played for? When did you start? Things like that.
So I believe I started hockey when I was 5. Obviously, I wasn't the superstar that I am today when I was 5, but I played for the Indianapolis Racers from the squirt years to my bantam years. And that was the best. That was honestly so much fun because that's how I made most of my friend group. And I probably played in that for 6 or 7 years. And then I played for the Fuel for maybe another year because the teams merged. But now I moved to Colorado and I play high school hockey there for a school called Valor Christian. And it's been a great time so far.
And so Colorado is a long ways away from here and a lot different scenery from the flatlands of Indiana. So what was the move like? How did you adapt to your new school, the new lifestyle? What was it like?
The move was very stressful at first. So I was actually really excited when my parents said that we could move because I was like, man, I want to go ski and I want to enjoy all that Colorado scenery. But the problem was we got there really late at night and we had not seen our rental home. And it was really terrible when we got there because the movers broke everything. So it was really stressful the first couple of weeks. But by the time school came around, I was lucky enough to play a sport. So making friends was not a problem. The people there just have this chill vibe. So,
and Colorado's got to be like a paradise for a hockey player, right? Everyone loves it there. The Avalanche, right, won the Stanley Cup this year. So just lots of snow, skiing, skating, things like that. Colorado's got to be a lot different atmosphere than here in Indiana.
I don't know about hockey paradise, but it's pretty nice there. It's way different than Indiana. A lot more opportunity for hockey players out there. Yeah, the Avs won the Cup this year. I got to go to a few games, but I'm not an Avs fan, but my friends are, and they're probably listening right now and making fun of me because they beat the Blues in 6 games.
And I do have a question about, so you were talking about you're not an Avs fan, and I know you're a big Colts fan. Yeah. So what's it like over there with all the Denver Broncos fans?
The Broncos fans are really obnoxious. My friend Dan Galushko is listening right now thinking that Russell Wilson is going to take him in the Super Bowl. Little does he know the Broncos will not even get a wild card spot. The Colts are going to beat them, and Matt Ryan's going to show up on Thursday Night Football, and Matty Ice is going to throw for 400 yards and beat the Broncos.
Hey, but Russell Wilson, Broncos country, let's ride.
Hey, let's ride, baby.
What about Denver Nuggets? Do you really care about the NBA now?
So I went to a Nuggets game this year. I mean, I don't really care much about the NBA. Some of my friends do. I don't know. I just feel like the Avs and the Broncos games just are a lot more energetic. The fans, I think, just like it a lot more. And I don't know. I mean, watching Jokic, is that how you say his name? I don't even know. Jokic. He's pretty good. I mean, I don't even know much about the NBA, but I went to that game and he can pass the ball, and he is a very abnormally large human being. So.
When you see NBA players on TV, you really don't think they're that big just because they're all around each other. But, I once gave a high five to Miles Turner when I was, 12, and I had to jump to reach his hand, and he wasn't even holding it up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really weird being around NBA players up close, and really all athletes. They're just, built.
Yeah, they're monsters.
So, yeah, going back to your school, Valor Christian, how is it different than Brebeuf, which you attended for your first 2 years of high school?
So Valor Christian's a little different because, well, in terms of hockey there, we get to skate during the school day. So we have break periods just like Brebeuf, but the hockey players have their break periods back to back. And what we'll do is when our break periods, when that time comes around, we will carpool to the rink, which is 5 minutes away, and we skate, and then we'll shower and come right back to school for our other classes.
Were those absolutely mandatory? If you had homework to do during a break, could you not do it because you had to go to hockey practice?
So we could maybe talk to our coach to see if we could use a break period, but I mean, they're mandatory. That's when the practice times are. You can't miss them.
And were those your only break periods during the day?
Yes, but like so on Fridays we'd have games and we wouldn't play, or every time we'd have a game we just wouldn't have practice and we'd have break periods, so we'd have like a really long time to just hang out together. So that's kind of one way we would bond. So it was really fun.
And that is a lot more than what I would assume the Brebeuf hockey program does. So, what was the team atmosphere like? How were your teammates? What was the play style? How was it different from your time playing for Brebeuf?
So first of all, the Brebeuf team, there was no problem ever with the team. I mean, the players got along super well. Everyone really got along with each other. The practices were fun. It's more intense in Colorado because we skated 4 or 5 times a week, and we had a coach that had NHL coaching experience, and he's just really intense. And the Brebeuf practices were definitely, you had some new players who were trying to figure out the game. And what was great about the Brebeuf program, though, is the leaders, the players with more experience, really helped kind of the coaching staff make the players who are learning a little bit, get into high school hockey. It would just really help them develop and get better. And that was part of the Brebeuf program. But at Valor, a lot of the kids that go there have a really good hockey, at least a baseline. And they Coach Gwozdecki kind of teaches them how they can make themselves a better player, just IQ wise.
And you were talking about coaches with NHL coaching experience. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so Valor's coach, his name is George Gwozdecki. He coached at DU, Denver University, and I believe Miami of Ohio and Michigan State for hockey for a long time. I don't even know how many years. And he's just an incredible coach. So he coached, when I say NHL, he coached for the Tampa Bay Lightning for, I believe, 2 years, maybe 3. He was an assistant coach. He took them to a Stanley Cup. Unfortunately, they lost to Chicago, but he's still a huge Tampa fan to this day, and he's just an incredible coach. I mean, you just really have to watch a practice.
And Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that lost to the Avs, right?
Tampa did lose to the Avs. So I saw on TV, I think George was on there for a few like NHL Network things to talk about the Avs, and he's definitely. I remember we had a meeting, and he's like, I would not root against Tampa, because he was asking us who was going to win the cup, and I was like, yeah, he still is definitely on the Tampa bandwagon.
Wasn't there a player, I believe he was on Tampa this year, he got traded 3 consecutive years and lost in the Stanley Cup all 3 years. Who was that?
Yes, that was Corey Perry. So Corey Perry was on the Stars in 2020, I believe, and they lost to Tampa. And then he was on Montreal, and they lost to Tampa. And then he went to Tampa, and then he lost to the Avs. So he's probably going to go to the team that loses this year. So probably
That is so unfortunate. I mean, like, I get he might have been, it was a free agent signing with the Lightning, right? So he was kind of riding the bandwagon a little bit, hoping for a championship. And then that happens, like, that's tough.
Yeah.
What about, like, I know Brebeuf is like a college prep school, going back to schools here. So what was like the education style at Valor Christian like? Was it somewhat similar to Brebeuf? I know it's a Christian school. Brebeuf is a Jesuit school. So yeah, talk a little bit about that.
So Brebeuf and Valor both have extremely great academic programs. I mean, for anyone who gets to go to either Brebeuf or Valor is very fortunate, very privileged. They're both great schools. But the one difference I would say in the academics from Valor and Brebeuf is Valor has a major focus on biblical scripture studies. I feel like the religion courses at Brebeuf were very good in having good conversations and how we can improve our lives. But I think at Valor is a lot more Bible study, a lot more scriptural studies. So I think that was like probably the major difference in the academics.
And I could probably see that through I don't know how diverse the population was at Valor, but Brebeuf, I'm Jewish myself, so there were a lot of kids who are not Catholic that go to Brebeuf. So they kind of utilize their religion classes as a discussion and personal spiritual growth. I don't know how Valor was, but yeah.
No, yeah, that's kind of what I was getting to. I mean, Brebeuf is one of the most diverse schools I've been at, and I loved Brebeuf. I would say Valor isn't as diverse, but I do know it's not everyone there's a Christian. I think most of the people there are Christians, but you have different Christian groups, I would say. I think there's a lot of Catholics, there's also a lot of Lutherans, a lot of Protestants, so that's kind of Valor's diversity.
And going along with that, you were talking, last night you came over to my house and surprised me after coming back here this week. You were talking about a very special school trip, so expand upon that a little bit.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get to go to the Holy Land this year. I went to Israel, and that was part of our one of my school trips. It was a biblical study trip, and I went with some of my hockey friends. And the hockey chaplain, Mr. Glossinger, actually took our Israel team there. He's been there many times, and it is, for anyone listening, I recommend that trip. It is the most amazing place I've ever been to. Granted, I've never left the country until then, but I mean, there's just so much to see there. The Dead Sea, Sea of Galilee, Mediterranean Sea, you've got Jerusalem, Bethlehem. I mean, even the desert was so cool. It's just an unbelievable place, and it really expanded my faith journey and my spirituality.
I was lucky enough also to go on a school trip this year, and it was to Oxford in the UK. And although our destinations were very different, it was very eye-opening for both of us, and a little taste of independence away from home and being with friends makes school trips so much more fun. Like I would do anything to go back and do that trip again. So anyone listening, school trips, do them.
No, yeah, for sure. If you ever have a chance to do it, especially with even with people that you don't know, that was part of my trip. I knew some of the people on my team, some of my hockey friends, Noah Feckety, Henry Barnes, that are listening right now, some of my good friends, and Quinn Cugarola. But if you get really close with people that you don't know, and that's part of these trips. And that's probably the best part is you get to you're with these people for a while, so you really get to grow a friendship with them. And I think I'll be close with a lot of the people on my team. But no, I saw a lot of the Instagram photos from Ian's trip and Justin Winiker. I saw all of his photos, and I mean that place looks amazing. I really want to go there sometime. But it doesn't really matter where the destination is, as long as you go as a team, and it's a great trip.
Yeah, expanding your a portfolio of places you've been, getting new experiences, and all like looking at it through different lenses. Like mine was through like a school class to take a course at Oxford University. Simon's was for biblical study. Whatever you're doing it for, make the most out of it, and it will be a life-changing experience.
No, for sure, for sure.
And continuing off of that, that was one part of your school year. So, what else did you do during your school year that either was different than something you did at Brebeuf or something that you just really took a good passion in? Yeah, so like clubs, athletics, obviously you played hockey, but something like just list whatever you did at school that you found to be passionate at.
Unfortunately, I didn't do too much this school year because hockey is all year round, and it took up a huge portion of my schedule. But we did do a lot of like service trips as a team. We went down to Denver a few times and worked at the food bank of the Rockies, which is always really fun. But the big thing that happened this year was part of our hockey season. We got to play in state, so we made it, and that was Valor's third year in state. They won the years before. Unfortunately, we lost this year to Denver East in a close match, and we got to play at where the Avs play, actually, at Ball Arena. So that game is unbelievable, and they film all of our games, so it's crazy.
And were you at Brebeuf the year that we went to state as well?
So my brother is on the team, but I was there my freshman year, but I didn't play in the state game because I was a double roster, so I was still playing travel, but they just Brebeuf picked me up for a few games, but I wasn't allowed to play in the state games.
Okay. And I am fairly confident that we lost that game, right?
Yes, we did. That'd be correct.
Yeah. Luckily this year, Brebeuf had a stellar sports season, to say the least. I believe it was 4 state championships. Let's see. So we had boys soccer, which was unbelievable. They started out the season 0-7-2, and then went undefeated in one state.
Wow.
And then the football team runners up. That game was still so fun. Lucas Oil Stadium.
That was Gibson Southern, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
right?
it was. We kind of got Brady Allen under control in the first half, and then he just lit us up the second half.
Yeah, I heard he's incredible, and I didn't get to watch that game, but I was watching some of the. I saw all over Instagram. I still follow everyone at Brebeuf, and I was always rooting for them. So I saw when they won soccer, I was really happy. But it was, I heard that game. It was just a absolute shootout, right?
Yeah, it was. So we had a 16-point lead, and then Brady Allen caught fire. I believe it was 42-35 or something like that.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was. Nolan Buckman and Brady Allen were just slinging it.
Oh man.
But yeah, then we also had girls volleyball. We had the girls dance team like every year, and baseball runners up in state as well. That was a very intense game. It was against Andre at Victory Field, but Yeah, so we hope to be back for Buff next year with more chances, but last year, great sports season. What about Valor? Did you guys win any states or at least reach the championship? Any other sports?
So Valor has a really great athletic program. So obviously hockey, we could have three-peated this year. Unfortunately, we didn't. But in football, our football team made it all the way to state. They got to play it in Power Field, so it's similar to what they do. I mean, actually, exactly the same. And they lost to Cherry Creek, and that was actually not a close game. Unfortunately, it was 21-0. But still, the Valor football team had a great year. I'm trying to remember the other sports. I'm not really sure. I know a lot of the other sports teams do really well every year. I know the golf team does great, and I'm aware that I believe it was not basketball. Our baseball team is very good. They did not win state, but they had a lot of like Michigan commits. They had a very good baseball team for sure.
And I know a lot of NFL players, NBA players in Colorado like talk about the altitude and how it affects their like breathing and stamina. So did you notice that when you first moved there?
Yeah, so funny story. When we first got there, my mom was really stressed and she wanted my brother and I out of the house. So my brother and I played at DU like the morning we got there in like a pickup skate. And I mean, my brother and I are supposed to be faster than all these older guys, but they were all faster than us because we were not acclimated at all. And then when I come down here, I feel like I'm flying because I guess my lungs just don't have to work as hard when I'm up there. And I just don't really notice it, but it's definitely a factor.
Did you get worked up by the conditioning of Sergey, the skating coach?
Well, Sergey was here, so that was in Indy, but I got a new skating coach in Colorado. My friend Dan Galushko got me into it, if Dan's listening. His name's Andrei Krivokrasov, and he's also from Soviet Union. And his skates, just like Sergey, are tough skates. I mean, these guys know how to skate, and they really push you as hard as you can.
But the ping pong analogy, does that still apply?
Yeah, the ping pong analogy. All right, so an explanation for the guys at home. So I was skating with Sergey. This had to have been my first year Bantam. Yeah, first year Bantam. And we were like dropping down on one knee and doing all this weird acrobatic stuff on skates, and I'm struggling with it. And Sergey comes over, our Russian skating coach, and he says, hockey like ping pong. You have to push. And I wasn't sure if he knew what ping pong was because from what I'm aware, you don't push when you play ping pong.
I mean, you can maybe. It depends how you play it.
I don't know.
It just have you ever like kept that in the back of your head while you're like skating like?
Oh yeah, I was talking about it yesterday with my friends because I don't know. I forget why we were talking about it, but I always tell my friends, and Sergey definitely improved my stride because my stride wasn't long enough. So when you skate with Sergey, what he teaches you is you have to have a longer stride because then you don't have to work as hard to get down the ice.
I remember we in middle school and in the first couple years of high school, Sergey would always come up in our conversations. I would love to meet him. He seems like a cool guy. And I would also like to play him in ping pong, see how he goes.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Sergey went back to Soviet Union.
Oh, he did?
And I'm not sure he's coming back, but I'm sure he'd be a great ping pong player. I know he's got all the tactics and all the talent.
So Sergey was one aspect of being back here in Indiana. So just overall, how does it feel like I don't know if you've gone to like restaurants you haven't been to in a year, or like I know you're seeing people like me who you haven't seen in a year. So just what's it like? How does it feel?
Wow, I mean, I knew Carmel was expanding because I've lived here, guys, but it's unbelievable. Carmel and just the whole metropolitan Indy area in general it's expanded so much. I mean, downtown Carmel, they were tearing down stuff and building these massive, like, was it parking garages and all of those places. And I mean, they've built so much around like the Palladium. It's definitely changed a lot. I haven't been to any new restaurants yet, but I know there are a few. I mean, it's just crazy to see all the stuff they've done.
Weren't you a big La Hacienda guy?
Yes, I was. And for all the El Rodeo people out there, they're wrong. La Hacienda is better than El Rodeo, 100%.
I don't know if I can agree with that. El Rodeo is a staple in my house. We go once a week. But so are you like? I know you're only here until next Thursday, right?
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, okay. So, what other things are you doing here? And like, I know you're probably gonna try and see as many people as you can. So what do you have planned for the rest of the week?
So I'm staying with my friend Ethan Timpey, and I'm probably gonna go up to his lake house. I actually have a tee time at 2 today, so I gotta golf, and then I'm playing at the 3v3 skates tonight. This little mini ice, it's called the Ice Barn. It's a 3v3, a smaller rink, which is really fun. I used to play in that, and that's really one of a kind. They don't have many of those, so just more hockey.
3v3, my only like perception of 3v3 hockey is when you and I played NHL 18 on Xbox, and it was just pure chaos. Like there were just like moves and dekes everywhere, and like you couldn't like defend. It's like all offensive.
Yeah, for my friends listening who play in the 3v3, what they're hearing from Ian is exactly like real life. That game, the threes eliminator game in NHL 18 is exactly like threes in real life. It's only offense, and it's literally chaos. The scores are like 17-9 and more. I mean, there's no goaltending. It's all offense.
And we have our icon Zalduendo as well from that game. Zalduendo was the goalkeeper, right?
Oh gosh, I'm not even sure. We
With
make all of our players up, and they just give them.
He had like the three-pronged red hair and yeah, that
silver mullet.
silver mullet. Yup. Yeah, NHL 18. That was the summer of 2018 special right there. So there are a couple of things that are similar about your lifestyle, like changing from here to there, but what are some major differences that you noticed from moving from central Indiana to Colorado?
So first of all, I have a funny story, but the drive everywhere. I mean, my friends there make fun of me because I'm like, man, look at the mountains, they're so beautiful. And my friends call me a tourist. I mean, they make fun of me because they've lived there for so long and it's just nothing to them. But I drive on this little road near the school, Mountain Vista, when I go to school, and it's on like a big hill, and you just overlook Denver and all the mountains. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And that's when I hit someone in front of me because I wasn't paying attention.
No.
So I got in my first, I mean, it wasn't a bad car wreck or anything, but I wasn't paying attention because I'm looking at the mountains, and I hit someone in front of me.
I can second you on that, not on the car crashing, but on the mountains. I was just in Syracuse touring the college up there, and it's not like mountains, but it's super hilly. Obviously in Indiana, there's nothing. Like the biggest hill we have is West Park.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
And it was just really weird because like Syracuse University is on a mountain. Like everywhere you go is uphill. Like I can be going uphill and turn around and I still feel like I'm going uphill. And like the scenery is so different. Yeah, Indiana really gives you a different perspective of the world with like no natural features at all. It's just grass and farmland.
No, I mean, it's incredible in Colorado. And we go up to, I mean, my friends are all like hardcore skiers. We ski all the time. But I remember my friend Noah, we were outside. I think had to have been in November when there's like really not much snow. Not many of the resorts are open. And if they are, they don't have many runs. And my friend is checking the Epic Mountain app, and he's like, no way, man. Keystone's got 2 runs open. I'm going to go rip Keystone. I'm like, dude, it's like November. Like all my friends just want to go up, and then I would go with them and we'd ski. And it's so fun up there. I love going up to the mountains, and all the mountain lakes are so cool.
I have never been to like a mountain town. I would say Syracuse is the most mountain town that I've been to, even though it's not really mountains. So I've never been skiing and like done any of the winter sport activities. If I did, I would definitely do terrible. But it's something I want to try in the future. My family is not very adventurous, so it'll probably have to wait until college. Like at Syracuse, like they told us on the tour, like people just take trash can lids and go down the hills. Because like
isn't that like a tradition at the school or something?
It is a tradition, but also the roads there are like 45-degree angles. So like when it's in the winter and covered in snow, you can't like drive on them. So people just slide down them.
Well, I heard there was like a really funny tradition at Syracuse. Maybe it was just like a winter fest where they do outdoor stuff and it's like in the freezing cold. I don't know where. I think I heard that on like a TikTok college person thing, but I don't know.
Maybe there were a lot of traditions at Syracuse, and a lot of them involve snow, which I mean it is my dream school, but the 14 inches of snow is something I'm gonna have to get used to. The thing that scared me the most was that on the fire hydrants, they have like the snow poles. So when the snow covers up the fire hydrant, you can still see where it is. But that's like 2 feet.
Yeah, no.
2 feet of snow. Like here in Indiana, big snow is like I don't know, 6 or 7 inches, and everybody thinks the world is gonna end. But they know what they're doing up there. I trust them.
Yeah, it's funny. In Denver, so Denver is like a desert, so it gets really hot, but it's also, I mean, the weather there is like Indiana where it's like really unpredictable, really weird. So we had snow, I believe it was in May in Denver, which is really odd, but we had a little bit of snow. But also, I mean, during the winter, I mean, obviously in the mountains there's snow everywhere, right? Because, I mean, obviously, but in Denver, where it's, I mean, only a mile high, I mean, there's still, it gets a ton of snow, but then in the summers, it's unbearably hot.
What was the most snow you had on the ground at one time?
Oh gosh, I don't know the inches, but I remember there was a point where there was so much where my friends were getting in car accidents before hockey all the time, and then I was getting so upset because I had to keep scraping off my car, and I was like, God, I'm done with this. I'm pissed that we move here. But I mean, I don't know how many inches because I'm not really sure.
And I thought like maybe a month ago, I saw it get up to like 95, 100 degrees or something like that. It got super hot. I don't know. I
In
might be
Denver?
thinking of a different place, but yeah.
No, yeah, that's 100%. Yep, it gets so hot in Denver. I mean, it's technically a desert there, so I mean, I was just there and we were walking outside. It felt like 100. It was probably like it was in the 90s for sure. It gets hot.
And little transition here. Oh, nothing like spending a hot day with some Dippin' Dots at the baseball stadium. Tell us about your job.
Alrighty, yeah. So I work for a company called Observe Inc. Yeah, so I work at the Coors Field. I work for the Colorado Rockies, and I also work for when they do concerts at Empower Field. And my job is to serve Dippin' Dots to people. So if you guys ever want a Cool Mint Crunch, just stop on by at Coors Field, and I'll fill your cup up. Only $8. Definitely not a ripoff.
Stadium prices.
Yeah.
They're crazy. What is the most popular flavor that you get asked to serve?
Oh gosh, I mean, we only have 4 flavors, and we don't have the banana
really?
split. And everyone's like, "Do you have banana split?" I'm like, "No, I think they like stopped giving us that, so we don't have it." But there's this one flavor called, I think it's like the Liberty Ice, and every time someone asks me what it tastes like, I say it tastes like freedom because I've never tried it. But I mean, apparently it's really good because everyone wants it. So yeah, I guess.
What's like the staple? Is two-parter here. What's a staple ice cream flavor in Denver? And then what's like the staple food?
I don't know if there is a staple ice cream flavor. I mean, I'm trying to think of what my friends like. I don't think there is a staple. I mean, I like vanilla. I'm not gonna.
That's fair.
I'm pretty
That's fair.
simple. I don't think there is a staple, but for food, so there is this funny. So everyone knows how Colorado is like the weed state, right? I mean, like that's just kind of like a stereotype of Colorado. But there is a sandwich place called Chiba Hut, and they make the best sandwiches ever. And the store is all weed themed. So there's like weed paintings on the wall and stuff. It's like really odd. They don't it's not a dispensary. They don't give you weed there. But like they have the best sandwiches ever, and all like the sandwich names are named after like some form of weed, I guess. I don't really know.
That is bizarre, but I guess it works for Colorado. So like when it gets slow at the Rockies games, can you just like turn around like from the concourse, walk towards the seats, and just watch the game?
No, never. Nah, I mean, like, I kind of can like get a sense of what's going on because it gets. I mean, the Rockies, for being a terrible MLB team, they bring a lot of fans, especially because they'll play like the Dodgers, and like there'll be a lot of Dodger fans. So our line is always really long, surprisingly, even for like Dippin' Dots. But sometimes I'll like get to see the score, and I'll like be walking by and see a home run.
And is your like stand? Can you see the field from it, or part of the field from it, or is it kind of hidden?
So it's kind of hidden, but it's like on, if you're like left of the left field foul line, kind of, that's where it is. But that's the stand I'm usually at. Sometimes they put me at a different one. But I mean, what was cool, I didn't really get to watch a lot of the game, but when I worked the Kenny Chesney concert, I got to hear the music, and a lot of my friends were there, so it was packed, so it was cool being there. But at the Coors Field, they would do fireworks, so sometimes we got to watch the fireworks, and that was like for free, basically, in which they did a really great job there.
And like, so the NL West is the division the Rockies are in, so that's the teams they play most. I think I might know the answer to this, but who are the most obnoxious fans from the NL West that you get?
I hate Dodger fans.
There it is.
There are so many of them. Listen, the Rockies fans are like, I feel bad for them because I mean I'm a Cardinal fan and I'm glad we got Arenado, but all of them have Arenado in story jerseys, and obviously they're not on the team anymore, right? So it's kind of, I feel bad for them, but the Dodger fans, I have no respect. I've never liked the Dodgers, but God, they're just so obnoxious. They fill every stadium.
And this is your first year doing it, right?
This is my first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know every 4 years, the Rockies are going to play the Yankees and the Red Sox in the AL East. So I know the NL Central is doing it this year. So I don't know. It could be next year. But your whole opinion on Dodger fans will change after you get Yankee fans. I know that.
Listen, there are two teams I despise the most are the Yankees and the Dodgers. I cannot stand the Yankees. So I mean I already have a sense that their fans are going to be really annoying because there's got to be so many bandwagons or they're just crazy. But yeah, no, I'm trying to think of the other teams that were there. I worked so many Dodger games because I want to work them because I'll get more tips because there's more people. But I mean, I also work with White Sox fans. Gosh, they're annoying too. I worked a White Sox game and there are so many of them and they were like, I saw one person wearing like a White Sox jersey and then a Cubs hat, and then their kids got like Cardinal stuff on, and I'm like, what is going on?
That's like the people who wear like the split jerseys of like the most random. Like I've seen a split jersey of like Tom Brady and like Shohei Ohtani or something. I also saw someone like they made a custom jersey of the Boston Celtics of a Shohei Ohtani jersey. I don't understand that at all. There were never any trade rumors of Ohtani going to Boston. He's all the way across the country in Los Angeles, and it's an NBA jersey. Like what?
Well, what's hilarious is those have to be expensive. I mean,
yeah.
like those are like not only are they custom, they just don't make any sense. So like, I'm sure it's weird, but I mean those are so expensive. I'm trying to think. I've seen some people have like their own custom jerseys, but the Rockies they all have like Arenado jerseys. They don't have anything cool.
What do you think is the age cutoff for a custom jersey with your name on the back of it?
What do you mean the age cutoff?
I think it gets awkward after a point. Like for a kid, yeah, it's cool, but like if you're like 50 years old, I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, I feel like when I was younger, I wanted one, but I'm not a great baseball player, as Ian knows. So I don't know if like I deserve a custom jersey. I feel like the age cutoff has got to be like 14.
Yeah,
I mean,
like once you get into your upper teens, you're trying to like, be cool and everything. So you want like that, I don't know, like Yankee, like Aaron Judge jersey or like some random Dodger jersey, like whatever bandwagon goes, like whatever team is the best, you're going to get that jersey to try and fit in. But as soon as you put your name on the back of it, it just becomes so awkward after a certain point. And I think 14 is a good age cutoff there. Yeah, anything else you want to?
Well, I would just like to say real quick for everyone here in Indy, I feel awful for all the Cubby fans. I hate the Cubs. I'm a Cardinals fan. We just swept you guys. The Cubbies, they are terrible. It's going to be another 100 years before they win another World Series.
Wait, I think 5 years and they'll be back in the playoffs. Now, not contenders, but playoffs. They're at a low point right now.
Well, another 5 years, we're going to have Goldie hitting another 20-plus home runs, batting .350, so we'll be good.
Isn't he like 37, though?
I don't think he's that old, but I don't care how old he is. That guy can play baseball, man.
He is having a year. He is.
For sure.
I do want to get your thoughts on Juan Soto to the Padres.
Listen, the Padres are mocking my two least favorite teams, the Dodgers and the Yankees. They're trying to buy a World Series, and I think it's going to work. Bringing in Juan Soto is good, but bringing in Hader, I think, is like all the more. You need a reliever, and Hader, every time he goes out, he's terrifying.
He's blown like a couple saves this year, though. He hasn't been as good as he's been, but yeah, he's still one of the best lefty closers out there.
He's definitely blown some saves for sure. I don't think he's had the year like from what I remember when he was on the Brew Crew, but I mean, dude, every time he comes out. He cut the hair, right? Didn't he cut the hair?
I don't think so. No.
He didn't? Oh, maybe he just put it. Okay, I didn't see it. But every time he comes out with the hair or whatever, I'm terrified because, dude, the guy's got a cannon.
NL Central fans have been traumatized by Josh Hader for the past few years, and it's so nice to have him out of the division.
Listen, as Cardinal and Cubs fans, I hate the Brew Crew so much, and I know you hate them too.
Yes. I do want to ask one of your favorite players going to one of your least favorite teams, Harrison Bader. Thoughts?
Listen, we needed a pitcher, but Harrison Bader's a fan favorite. I mean, the guy, dude, he's so fast, right? I mean, every time he's on base, he just he gets down, he shakes his butt, and is he gonna run? He's gonna run. Of course he runs, and he's crazy fast. And in the outfield, he just makes some crazy acrobatic plays. But I don't know if the Cardinals really needed him. But I mean, at the same time, he is the fan favorite. I mean, everyone loves him.
Okay, so now that the trade deadline's passed, who do you think is going to win the World Series this year? Do you think the Yankees can be stopped? Do you think the Padres can pull it off? Dodgers, other?
I want my Cardinals to win the World Series. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. Dude, the Yankees, they're a good team. I think the Mets are another team that's really good. I mean, is Edwin Diaz?
Oh, Edwin Diaz's walkout to his closing is the most hype thing in sports. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it.
I think the Mets could do it. I hate the Mets, for one. I hate all the New York teams. The Mets, I'm not... But yeah, no, you're right. When Edwin Diaz comes out, it's just like the Josh Hader thing we were talking about. It's scary. And you need those relievers to win you World Series.
It's the trumpet song. The trumpet song just gets the whole stadium going, brings the intensity. And then Edwin Diaz, as a very different than the past, 7 years, is actually doing well. So Mets fans get very happy when Edwin Diaz comes out.
Well, I know, but wouldn't it be crazy if we saw a Mets-Yankees World Series? That would be a treat for sure.
That happened in what was it? 2001?
It was recent.
I think it was 2001.
The Mets won, right? Or I don't even remember.
No, the last time the Mets won was 86.
So the Yankees...
Yeah, I think that was the last time the Yankees won the World Series.
Well, the Mets went in 2015.
They went.
The Royals. Yeah, the Royals beat them in, I think it was 6 games.
Yeah. I don't know. You can never predict baseball. I don't bet on sports, but to whoever does that's listening, don't ever bet on baseball. It's so unpredictable that it's just not smart.
Yeah, I mean, was it the Rays recently? They stunned everyone by making it. But I mean, they're a good team. I don't know. We'll see. My money's on the Mets, but I'm rooting for the Cardinals.
I will root for anybody but the Yankees and the Dodgers. I'd be happy to see the Mets win, honestly. It's been a long time. Mets fans have gone through a lot. And I mean, the Padres are a cool team. They have swag, but I don't really like that they're just buying.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Dodgers and Yankees do.
Like
they buy everyone.
The only players that they've raised from their farm system that are standing out are Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't know if there's another one. I know then he got traded from the White Sox to the Padres for the guy who gave up a homer to Bartolo Colon. White Sox fans, just close your ears. So I don't know. It's hard to predict, but MLB postseason is so fun to watch. Like every time there's a big hit or a home run or just a strikeout in a big situation, crowds just get so energetic, and that goes for any playoffs, but it feels different in baseball because everyone's like, oh, it's 162 games in the regular season. They don't matter. But as soon as you get to the playoffs, every game matters more than everything, and everyone cares a lot more.
So you were watching. I don't know the prospects as well as you do, but I saw that Josh Bell was also included in that Juan Soto trade. So those prospects had to have been top tier.
Yeah, it was Robert Hassel III, Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, Josh Mead or something like that. I know Luke Voigt went. He was the only major league player that went in the deal. And some other left-handed pitcher. The Nats got a haul, but they did give up 2 All-Stars and 1 generational talent. So we'll see how it plays out. Those prospects might not make it. So it's always the risk in baseball. Like other leagues are like draft picks and in the NBA, trades are really weird because you have to match salary, and so there's like trade exceptions and things like that included. But baseball, it's just prospects. You can't trade draft picks, so it's always a risk to see them pan out. And for those like me collecting baseball cards, it is not always the best. I'm talking to you, Geraldo Perdomo, but yeah, we'll move along from that.
I mean, I never collected baseball, but I did the hockey, and I've had a lot of I had the older players, right? You have to get the special cards of the players that are already good. So I had 30 Wayne Gretzky cards that were all I had the shiny ones. I mean, they were just so sick. But I mean, you gotta collect the players that you know are gonna be good. And in baseball, it's tough because you don't trade picks, right? You develop, and the team that doesn't develop. That's why I've been so fortunate to be a Cardinals fan, because I feel like every year they have a young player, right?
They might have young players, but then they trade them away. Let's see. We got Sandy Alcantara, Randy Arozarena, Tatis, right? Yeah.
Well, I can think of some good players. I mean, Brendan Donovan came in this year. Tommy Edmonds a great player. I mean, the Cardinals definitely have guys.
Brendan Donovan in that first Cubs-Cardinals series was the most annoying player because every time we had 2 outs, 2 strikes on him, he just like either hit a homer or an RBI double. It was just not fun.
And every time he'd run around second base, his helmet would fall off and show that sick flow. So, I mean.
Yeah. Baseball is, a lot of people like say it's becoming dead and losing popularity, but.
I mean, it's the best. I think it's the best pastime. As a hockey player.
Yeah,
I love going to a baseball game. I would rather go and watch an NHL playoff game, but going to a baseball game and like having a hot dog and just enjoying. I mean,
and baseball
at a Wrigley Field too. I went to Cubs Cardinals games at Wrigley Field. They are. I mean, it is unbelievable.
Yeah, Wrigley Field is a special place, and the thing about baseball is that you always have to watch the game because at any point there could just be a hard ball coming 100 miles an hour right at your face. So it adds some fun suspense to the game. You're always looking to catch a foul ball, so you're paying attention. And, like, you never know what's coming, and you never know how long the game is going to go, and you don't know the result. Like, basketball, you know whoever makes the most baskets and, like, scores the most points is going to win the game. You know exactly how that's going to happen. 3-pointers, free throws, like, just regular 2-point shots, stuff like that. But baseball, you might see a 1-0 game with just, like, a solo home run. You could see a 17-12 game with hits all around the board. You just never know what's coming. And there's so much talent spread out throughout the league that like you can see any game you go to, you will see an all-star most likely.
Yeah. I mean, what an all-star like Joey Gallo, right? I mean, going to the Dodgers.
Yankee fans had enough with him. They traded for some outfielder to replace him. I can't remember who it was.
Well, what happened to Joey Gallo?
I know he was an all-star with Texas, and then
he started off all right.
I bet it was the Steinbrenner rule when he had to shave his beard. He lost all his confidence, and then hit 160 in a year and a half.
They showed Yankee fans were showing his last 5 at bats, all swinging strikeouts.
Yeah. So yeah, great to have Simon on the show. We could have him back another time on a remote call. See, I know Wes Young has already told me he wants to come back for a part 2 from that first episode. So yeah, Simon, thank you for coming on the show. Great conversation.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
And yeah, it's great to have him back here. And stick around for the next episode. And we got a long list of athletes who have lined up, so it'll be a surprise as to who it is. But you always know what to expect here on the P3 podcast. See you next time.